am an engineer at heart, and I think I was not a bad engineer. I graduated out of college. I went to do my PhD, and at that time, I really thought that all my classmates at IIT thought that if there would be one professor, it would be me. But I went in, and I kind of when I listened to lectures of Ron Schaffer and many others who are giants in the electrical engineering and signal processing, and I thought that I'm not sure whether I can match up to their standard, and I thought that let me then find out something where probably I can make a mark, and I thought that I will join the industry. So that's when actually I the founder of the company, the startup company, I actually ended up working with him in an internship, and he said that I have started a company, why don't you join? So it was for me that okay fine, I was getting some kick out of PhD to write papers, but now I want to take a concept and turn it into product, and that was very, very exciting for me. So I joined the company, and I was the first engineer joining the company. Pretty much member of the founding team. I just did that, and I really enjoyed it. But that was one of the scenarios that at that time the market which it was targeting didn't really pick up quite that much. So we ended up selling that division. Very interesting stuffs, and I enjoyed doing that quite a bit. But in that process, one thing happened. I mean, I had probably a lot of patents, a bunch of patents. I really got the kick out of technology, and I lost my enthusiasm to go back and do the PhD. So that then actually I joined into a bigger company also from there as a product manager. And also starting up a new project, and I kind of figured out that I can't sustain in a big company. So these two events happened, and then I thought what I would do next. I didn't know much what really would be the next drive for me, and I went to business school. And I was in Silicon Valley. I went to Stanford. There actually I was also working in between. I was working at a fund, and the founder of that fund and Naren, who is the founder of Nexus, sat on the board of Wind River. So I got connected to Naren with the idea that Naren was the first Indian American to take a company public as a founding CEO. So as an entrepreneur, much more. I even today I know Naren much more as an entrepreneur than a VC, and that's the inspiration. So I really enjoyed talking to Naren, and then Sandeep and Suvir also started. They were also entrepreneurs. So I thought that hey, that's what I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I really want to do stuffs. So let's see. I will just get started, and probably I will end up starting my company. That was the whole thing. I didn't really think of where things are going, but some good things happened along the way. I fortunately found some really great entrepreneurs, whether you talk about Cluster or Cloud or 8 other companies that I have invested from then on. So some good things happened, and I think Nexus team also thought that they would like to give me more responsibilities, and now here I am. So that's how one thing led to the other kind of thing. But it's really a journey. I mean only time can say. We consider ourselves as a startup helping other startups. And we try to be really at the end of the day, our objective, I always believe that VCs are known by the companies they keep. So as long as we can do probably a little bit of justice. So of course the flip side would be that of course we are working with them. They can't possibly when we are still partners possibly keep on saying something different about us. But yes, I mean I would definitely say that when you are making an investment, one thing we strongly believe is a foundation of any relationship is mutual trust. So you would like to make sure that we are working with someone for a long time, because that's how you build early stage companies. We are running a fund of 10 plus 2 years, and we would like to see companies which can potentially go public. So good companies, great companies. So as long as you are working under that premise that there is mutual respect and trust, we would just work as partners. Now we are always cognizant of the fact that we don't run companies, because of very simple reason. Entrepreneurs should know much more than what we know. If that is not the case, we should have started the company. So we don't want to be in a position that we are going in and saying that no, that's how it should be happening, because that's not how great companies can be built. So with that, I'd say that probably 80% of the time we are reactive, in a sense that we are there as a bouncing board for where the companies should head, help them with hiring, help them with our networks, probably make some intros to some customers which they will have to win.
Sure.
But the rest 20% we might be proactive. We might say that if things could have been done a little differently, we'll probably point them out based on a lot of other understanding which you are getting either from other companies or from the industry. We will try to help them in many different forms we can. But fundamentally, it's really that there is an assumption that hey, we can be transparent with each other and would say not only just the glorified things which people can talk about and like to really be proud of, but also some stuffs because startup is a roller coaster. If things are not going well, then they should be free to talk about, and you would try to be of help. And that's where I think that help might be even more required. If things are going really great, which everybody wants, then that's fine, right? But suppose things are not going that well, which happens and which has also happened to many of our companies. The question is at that time, can you really? And that's where I think patience comes in, because many of these entrepreneurs where we together did the journey, they have seen roller coasters, and our experience comes in, and I think we have been on the other side of the table, right? So that helps because all of us went through that kind of journey. So I would say, more often than not, it's really not. It's not a scenario that things are really breaking apart, because if at cases that would happen, that's a very different thing. It might so happen that sometimes you might not take the company forward. That's a totally different thing, and in venture business, write-offs do happen. What really means that suppose things are going on, you would expect, sometimes you would expect that this quarter will be great, but for whatever reason that didn't, that expectation didn't come through. What we would like to do at that time is be of help in a sense that just helping them analyze what might have happened. Is it because of external reasons? It is because of internal reasons? Is it because that it's just that people have to be patient? Sometimes actually projections become over enthusiastic. People think that they would be. So there are all kinds of things that go in. So our objective would really be to come in and step in and say that look, A, yes, it happens, don't worry about it, or B, these might be the reasons. So let us talk together, what all things might have gone wrong. And it's like I can't think of a specific example, but it happened a lot, and including Gloucester. I mean, I would, if you talk to AB, you would probably. I can't possibly say one or two instances, but there has been countless times when things, whether it is internal, whether it is because somebody would think. Often founders, people might think that companies should be run differently than they are being run. Then what do you do in those points? And there might be valid points. Sometimes they might say that engineering is doing great, sales and marketing isn't keeping up. Sometimes sales and marketing would say that we are really on track, but we don't get support from engineers. So all those things, I think operational nitty-gritties do come in, as much as, of course, we take an outside-in approach, right? So if you take an outside-in approach, sometimes you might help the founders clear out their blind spot, because they might be doing, they keep on doing it, and they are anyway, working probably, more than 24/7 if possible, But they might be not seeing something very obvious. So we try to just help them identify those.
Right.
See, first of all, we never have and never want to get into a company thinking of when we would get the company to an exit point, because the idea is that that goes back to the previously what I said, and it's a long journey. Building a company is a long journey, and we are early stage investors, right? We want to be the first institutional investor getting in. So we would never get into an investment thinking that hey, within so many time frame it has to, because it never happens. Exit is always an event, both for Cloud.com as well as for Cluster. For both these two companies, the exits were totally unsolicited. Totally. Some people, people find out, all the other companies find out, and they would express their interest, and sometimes entrepreneurs would make that decision. Sure. And things, the outcomes were great, and they thought that that's the right way to do. But we would be super supportive. In fact, we would have loved if they say that no, we would build it into multi-billion-dollar companies because we have the product leadership into the market. That also would have been perfectly fine for us. Of course, we would have loved that, but we respect. Entrepreneurs are coming in. We would respect. We are here to support the entrepreneurs.
Sure.
But to answer your question, we definitely are not getting into investments thinking that So yes, even I can, now that, I have had a 4.5 year stint into the business, hopefully will have, quite a few years more. Things actually change as you start getting involved with more companies. So initially probably it was more outbound, try to find out right companies. But very soon as your involvement starts getting into more and more companies, the time involvement with the companies increase.
Yeah.
So it's always a sweet spot. But as VCs, the lifeblood of venture business is to be able to see the best companies. No matter how much help you do, it is not going to compensate for you not being able to see the best company. If you haven't seen Google, however much you try, to make another one Google, it doesn't really happen.
So what is the secret behind seeing those good companies? So how do
So
you
again, one thing I must say that it's the toughest part. Probably, so there are different aspects that help, different things help. I think people whom I trust, there is mutual respect. They sometimes refer great companies. That's one ways we get to see entrepreneurs. Other is all the entrepreneurs we are working with. If they see value of what we are doing to them, they would connect us to the best of their, to the best entrepreneurs they know. So that's also, very much, another ways. And then, the other thing also that happens that, if you are getting known as, okay, you are probably doing some good things, some good companies are coming out, then a bit of franchise starts getting set in and people would probably see that, okay, I am looking to build a company in this space, Nexus has backed them, they probably understand the ecosystem, let me talk to them. So these, I would say, that would be the three things. And the fourth category is that, sometimes I would probably get to know that, so-and-so is doing something which is very interesting. I would be, as much as a salesperson as, a company salesperson trying to sell his product. As simple as that. Good entrepreneurs, they would come in, entrepreneur skill. If I have to say that, one of the key skills that an entrepreneur should have, they're selling. He or she sells to the investors, sells to the employees, and sells to the customers.
Sure.
Likewise for us, good entrepreneurs would always have options. I have to make sure that, he takes my money. It's not going to be easy. Because he knows that, he can get the check from wherever.
So what's your sales pitch? I'm tempted to ask.
Yeah, I'm the greatest and the bestest VC. Kidding. What I'm. It's like starting to work with, just seeing whether there is a chemistry alignment. Of course, people would like to see whether there is a spark here. Whether there is an alignment of mind.
Yeah.
If they really connect with. Somebody is talking about, say, whatever idea, how they are seeing I'm receiving it. Because at the end of the day, that intellectual honesty would be very important,
yeah.
right? If you are an entrepreneur, if I'm working with you or you are working with me, there has to be, you have to really answer to yourself that, not just for any other things that, look, I really think that, I can work with Jishnu or, Jishnu can add value because of this reasons. So it's a process and, we would do, of course, the best sales pitch, the best salesperson are the one, who are absolutely honest about what they're putting things together. They are the most successful salespeople of any, because otherwise it doesn't happen. I mean, things will come out and people will know and it won't work. I think in general, the perception of the outside investors about Indian macroeconomy has been down. People didn't have clarity. I think uncertainty to an extent was responsible, whether you talk about government policies or whether you talk about, the number of fundable companies, exits again, that is always a question in investors' mind.
Yeah.
So that's, so that was true. So that's definitely true. I think for everything, it's actually true for in US also. Everywhere venture industry is moving towards what I would say flight to quality.
Okay.
Like if you look at the total number of active funds in US, that will also go down. Probably would become half. But the funds which are performing will be doubled down. And that's the whole, because it's like LPs feel that we would like to trust people who are performing. Who are generating returns, and I would rather like to trust them with more than, trying to find out, somebody else who can do it. I mean, they do.
Sure.
I mean, they are continuously, trying to find out good fund managers. But that thing, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, we were fortunate. I mean, for us,
yeah.
For us actually, all our existing LPs just doubled down. For us, it was a very quick event. Less than a couple of months, I would say. We are oversubscribed. So, again, we have to do our bit to justify the trust and keep generating returns.
Sure.
The main premise why we are raising money from LPs. So first of all, I won't say that actually. Yes, I mean, we might have done a little bit more on the B2B side than other investors, but we are doing we are quite sector agnostic. We have quite a few consumer focused plays. We do consumer and business services. We do technology enabled services. We have companies in e-commerce. We have companies in logistics, payments. We also always look for certain areas where non-linear, so-called traditional sectors where you can expect non-linear venture type returns. And likewise we have investment in healthcare, we have investments in education, but very we invested in Talent Sprint, an education company. We feel that vocational training is the need of the hour in India, and we found an entrepreneur whom we really wanted to back. And likewise he wanted to work with us. So that's how we keep on looking at it. So from our end, we really don't see us as just doing B2B or just enterprise by long shot. And if you look at our team also, we have that capability.
Right.
Some of us are probably focused more on tech, but the others are doing business and consumer services.
Right.
We of course we won't so far we have stayed away from certain things. We don't do infrastructure, capital intensive stuff. So we definitely don't do. We don't do. We haven't done any IT services company. Our really focus has been either products or technology enabled services which can scale non-linearly, and whatever sectors that might be. I do think technology would be big. India would be a big market for technology. It's in a process. It would take some time. I mean, if you look at the total amount of purchase that happens for technology, software, infrastructure, that's actually quite big. It's just that most of the purchases happen for tried and tested products, and which is how it should be. But we are seeing more early adopters coming up, who are looking at innovative technologies and saying that how I can leapfrog competition. So we are very bullish that over the next 5 to 10 years you would see a market for technology products in India increasing.
Sure.
India would remain consumption story. It definitely you need to have the horizons right. You don't happen probably you make an investment today and tomorrow you generate the returns. Sometimes those kind of expectations somehow get set in the market. I don't know how. There was a time when e-commerce fad started coming in. 30-40 companies gets funded just because people think that setting up a website with some products is setting up an e-commerce company, and there are VCs coming from all over and saying that we'll invest. So I think there are challenges with those things, but over the longer term, if you do things right, if you focus on fundamentals, say you're talking about e-commerce, you focus on beyond the product, if you focus on customer service, you are focusing on merchandising, if you understand that the entrepreneur really understands what are the nuts and bolts of business over the longer, and then if you have the patience and the horizon, it should pay off. Because Indian consumption story is strong.
Sure.
It's very strong. So we definitely feel that way, and we would keep on doing. We are hoping that we'll be able to do very good investments there. First of all, I'm not actually the point person in Nexus and looking into e-commerce anyways. So I won't be able to name companies, but I definitely think that a handful will succeed.
Sure.
I have no doubt about it. Again, it has to be put into perspective that it might take longer.
Yeah.
It probably take more capital, and then consolidation will happen. Many of the companies will probably just die away. Many of the companies might get folded into other companies. All those things will happen. But some will emerge as winners because the fundamentals are right. I think in general I would say angel ecosystem is good because availability of early stage funding and the appetite for risk is much better than not having any funding or any risk, which was the scenario where India was probably several years back. Now the next wave that should come in is qualified angels, which means that with the money there should also come in qualified advice with that which would help the company step up and get prepared for the next stage. Would love to see more kind of angels and incubators with that view.
Sure.
Now, of course, the one thing that happens in India, what we see that there are a lot of activities, but not that many fundable companies. Now, in angels also, what they are finding that if somebody spots a company, then they feel that hey, that is the only company where there is probably potential to make money. Then everybody and their brother wants to go in and invest. So that is it's probably, I would say, path to by the time lot of fundable companies come in, it's probably just inevitable because it would happen, right?
Yeah.
If I'm your friend, you're spotting a company, I would probably try and see if I have that appetite for angel investing.
Yeah.
The other side is that, so I would encourage all the incubators and all the angels are out there just to work with the companies and do what is best for the company. Sometimes we see sometimes the terms that we see from angels, or sometimes even the kind of advice that we see and all that. No, probably those might not be always at par for what is required for a company at that stage, given that it's just one founder and trying to do something. So as long as those alignment are there and they are doing the right thing for the company, I think it's a very good thing. I don't see any downside. I actually think that the pace of change in India change in the positive direction in India is much more than what is there in the valley today. Which, by that what I mean that I can see directionally, if I track 4.5 years to 5 years of what I have been tracking the market, and if I see where even Bangalore was in terms of product thinking, in terms of quality of entrepreneurs, I am very, very optimistic that it would go to a significant place. Of course, Silicon Valley is the hub, is the innovation hub of the world. It's very tough to comment when Bangalore, or for that matter India, can go to a point that that can match Silicon Valley, but definitely the direction is in a very positive
Sure.
So of course I'm very proud of all the companies I'm working with, and they are in very, very different areas. Like if you talk about Dhruva, they are the leader in what they are doing. Enterprise endpoint protection and collaboration. Done a fantastic job. Everything 100%. The company started out of Pune, and now of course the company, the CEO had to move to US because most of the business was coming from there. If you talk about social media benchmarking, a much earlier stage company, Dhruva is much further along, but an earlier stage company on Metric. That's again totally started out of Chennai. Another even earlier stage company I would say is HelpShift.
Yeah.
A fantastic company which came out of Pune. So I'm clearly seeing and they are all very different in their different areas. So you talk about mobility, you talk about data, you talk about cloud computing, you talk about how the convergences are coming up, how enterprise technologies are evolving so dramatically. There are huge opportunities for startups to come up and have their mark. It's just that you need to have the courage to question the status quo. As much cliche it might sound, that's the successful, that differentiates the successful entrepreneurs from those who are not. If I have to point out one area where I do think Indian ecosystem and Indian entrepreneurs should pay attention to, would be product management and product marketing, and marketing in general. That is definitely, I would say, the rest of the world is quite ahead. And associated with that would be also design sensibilities and thinking, user experience. Because at the end of the day, people should realize that whatever complexity and whatever technology they are building, that's really underneath. There is no brownie point in exposing them up. You have to build something which is simple and easy to use, and that's the toughest part.
Sure.
To build something which is really simple, which appeals to the users, probably your technology would need to be most sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right? So that thinking of product management, marketing, what are the needs out there into the market, how do you map those? Those would need more.
Sure.
That has improved also, I would say, at least in the 5 years time frame that I'm tracking, but there is lot of room for improvement. If I look at all the good entrepreneurs we are thankfully working with, first and foremost would need to be a passion and grit. You really need to like what you are doing, love it, because you cannot build a company because so and so you might have seen one of your friend has done it you are as capable. Why don't you also jump in and do it? These are all wrong reasons, and I'm pointing these out because I see, these are also because it's just human tendency to see that success coming up, and that helps also. But the driver should really be the passion and the grit. Associated with that, an entrepreneur should definitely know what they don't know, and should be willing to hire the best, much better than what they are, in certain areas.
Yeah.
And that talks about how do you form the team, the core team, which is really complementary, having complementary expertise, but a shared camaraderie, to build something great, having that steadfast commitment. These are, I would say, some of the elements that differentiate. Of course, needless to say, you have to be smart. You need to know, what you are doing. These are given, but that passion and the grit and that conviction, appetite. Lot of you need to have risk appetite. You need to be able to go through a lot of roller coasters. Take no for an answer.
Yeah.
And just be at it. Just do it. So I think it's actually true not only for India. When you are building the first core team, it really about when I'm talking about core team is really the founding team, which really needs to be based out of built on equity. You can't really talk about I'm going to match your Google salary or whatever, right? So and that's good actually because that puts in self-selection. So you really would need to put in people who believes in you, who believes in the idea, and you need not build in a big team. It's really about 2-3 core team member whom you would consider founders or founding team.
Yeah.
That I would argue that you can do it. You need not. You should better not depend on having funding to do it, because that clearly is kind of you can think of, right? You have funding that attracts people, but you should make sure that the persons who are coming in are not coming in because they are attracted to the funding.
Sure.
They should come in because they want to work with you, they believe in you, and they believe in what you are doing.
Sure.
So that it might sound kind of of course it's not easy to do, but if you really follow it very very you believe in it and you try to you reach out to the right people, you would get it, because if you look at the number of people who wants to jump into entrepreneurial activities, that's increasing.
Sure.
That's increasing a lot. We actually Samir and I keep on meeting a lot of people from big companies who are having their cushy jobs. They want to quit and they want to come in and jump into entrepreneurial journey.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's a good time to start companies.